Welcome back to the Midnight Narrator, where the familiar becomes terrifying and the very shadows we cast turn against us. Tonight, we explore a chilling tale of a family bound by a single, unwavering rule. Always be aware of your silhouette. But what happens when that which defines us turns into something sinister, something unseen, something that mimics our every move with a horrifying intent? Prepare to enter a world where the darkness holds not refuge, but a terrifying freedom for something that should not exist. Join me as we unravel the chilling secrets of the unseen mimic. Turn off the lights, listen closely, and pray that your own shadow remains faithful. My guardian taught us a single, unwavering rule: always be aware of your silhouette. Every few hours, the three of us, my guardian Linnea and I, would perform a silhouette check. It was as automatic as breathing. "Check your form," my guardian would call, and we'd both glance down to ensure our silhouettes were still present. I assumed everyone did this. We were educated at home, so no one corrected me. And my only acquaintance down the lane, Serafina, was eccentric herself, so she never seemed to notice. But then my guardian found employment and Linnea and I began attending the village school. That's when everything began to unravel. "What are you doing?" Alara asked me as we stood in the schoolyard one crisp autumn afternoon. "Form check," I replied. "Form check?" she asked, puzzled. "What's that?" I stared at her. "You don't know what a form check is?" It was as if she'd confessed she didn't know how to wash her hands. I explained, slowly and simply. "You look at the ground to make sure your form is still there." She looked at the ground. There it is. She then extended her arms and intertwined her fingers, making her silhouette resemble the letter E. "Look, it's like E for Ilara." Soon, many of the students were doing it. We'd go out for recess, and someone would shout, "Form check." The children would twist their bodies into odd shapes to make their silhouettes look like birds or trees or symbols, and we'd try to guess what they were. This continued for about 3 days. Then, something unsettling occurred. On Thursday afternoon, the sky was completely overcast. "Form check," Caspian called out. I looked down and saw my silhouette. But when I looked up, I noticed no one else had a silhouette. For a moment, panic threatened to overwhelm me. I wanted to scream and run. But I took a deep breath and did what my guardian had taught me. When the form fades, seek refuge in shadow for a cycle. The phrase echoed in my mind. The school had a lower level. I'd overheard the instructors mention it. The lower level would be safe. We just needed to stay there until dawn. I first grabbed Alara. "Hey," she protested. I held on tightly and began pulling her toward the school building. "Let go," Alara shrieked, wrenching her arm free. "What's wrong with you?" "What's wrong with you?" I shouted back. "We have to hide." The other children weren't smiling anymore. They were staring at me, recoiling as if I were dangerous. "We have to hide," I yelled again. "All the forms are gone." I tried to grab Alara again, but she evaded me. I stumbled and fell onto the paved ground, scraping my knees. I looked up at my classmates. Why weren't they hiding? "What are you doing? Run!" I screamed. An instructor helped me up and escorted me to the headmaster's office. "I should have explained more clearly," my guardian said that evening as they tucked me into bed. "The form check is only for us. It's all right if others don't have them." "Why?" A flicker of sadness crossed their face. Then they shook their head. "It's simply how it is. The light, it holds them in place. The darkness, it gives them freedom." No one interacted with me at recess anymore, not even Alara. I was always alone. I began to notice that there were many days, and even some classrooms where people had no silhouettes. I always did. But they didn't. Months passed. The other children's whispers faded, replaced by the usual recess shouts and laughter. One overcast afternoon, Alara approached me, a skipping rope dangling from her hand. "Want to play double dutch?" she asked, her eyes bright. I hesitated, glancing at the ground. My silhouette stretched across the cracked pavement, a dark mimic of my every move, though a fraction of a second behind. "Come on." Alara tugged my arm. It's just a shadow. She didn't even glance down at the ground. As I grew older, things became more complex. In advanced studies, the instructor taught us about the sun, optics, and light, lenses and refractions, and the light-sensitive cells in our eyes. And they explained that a silhouette was simply the absence of light, where our bodies blocked the source. It didn't make sense that my silhouette or anyone else's could simply vanish. If the light source remained constant, and I didn't move, how could it disappear? Linnea was now old enough to insist on being called by her full name, Rebecca, but she was still too young to grasp the argument I had with my guardian that night. It's impossible, I shouted as she worked on a drawing upstairs. You're deceiving me. I'm not deceiving you, my guardian pleaded. Yes, you are. I ran across the main room, confronting my guardian. I walked past the ornate glass fixture on the small table. My guardian's eyes widened. They looked at the floor. My silhouette was gone. The fixture was behind me. My silhouette should have been on the floor in front of me, but it wasn't. Hide, they whispered. When I didn't move, they shouted, Go to Rebecca, now. I hesitated for a moment, then sprinted for the stairs. Extinguish the light, they shouted after me. I rushed into Rebecca's room and closed the door. I unplugged the fixture. Hey, Rebecca said. I'm creating. Quiet, I whispered. What? My silhouette vanished. Rebecca was too young to remember the day her own silhouette disappeared. She'd been an infant. My guardian had scooped her up, grabbed my hand, and taken us to the storage cellar. We spent the night there, in total darkness, eating preserved fruit and sleeping on old blankets spread on the earthen floor. But she knew it was a serious matter. She scrambled onto her bed and pulled the covers over her head. I stood in the center of the room listening for my guardian. They didn't come. Are they still down there? There were many light sources down there. It would be safer to join us. I crept toward the door, my heart pounding, stepping over Rebecca's art supplies. Guardian? I called softly. Silence. I opened the door slightly and peered out. I could see the stairs, light spilling from the main room. But everything was silent. Perhaps they went into the storage cellar. Perhaps a silhouette appeared on the wall. No, they're still down there, but no. It couldn't be my guardian's silhouette. It was too small. And though the edges were blurred, it seemed to have a long braid. Not the short style my guardian wore. It wasn't them. It was me. The blurred edges sharpened. The figure, the silhouette, became clear. My braid, my upturned nose, my slightly turned-in feet. The figure crouched and pulled at something, yanking it, moving independently of me, a dragging sound. My guardian's feet came into view, motionless. I gasped, covering my mouth, but it was too late. The silhouette froze, turned to look directly at me. Then, with long, rapid strides, it began ascending the stairs. I slammed the door shut, engaged the lock. Then I dove under the covers with Rebecca, my body trembling. The village guards never found my guardian's remains. They were eventually declared missing. Rebecca and I went to live with distant relatives. They seemed unaware of the silhouette custom. They never asked us to perform form checks. The only comment in 10 years was from my relative, on an overcast day, mentioning how distinct my silhouette was on the pathway. I watched it as I walked, noticing its movements were not perfectly synchronized with mine. As the years passed and my silhouette didn't disappear again, I became complacent. I checked less and less. I began to live a normal life, working as a property assessor. Rebecca is now in university. I even began to convince myself that my silhouette hadn't harmed them, that my guardian had simply left after our disagreement, and the memory of the silhouette was my way of coping. It was easier to believe they had abandoned us than to accept that a dark form had taken them. That's what I told myself. Until tonight. As I sat at my computer finalizing a property evaluation, I noticed my fingers cast no shadow on the keyboard, no shadow on the floor beneath the desk. I rushed to extinguish all the lights, but I don't think I was quick enough. As I ran to close the window coverings to block the light from the street lamp, I saw my silhouette, moving across the darkened street, vanishing into the night. So, I implore you, if you observe any unusual silhouettes in your home or outside, something not cast by the lights or the objects around you, something that appears different, something that moves even when you don't, seek refuge. In complete darkness, in a place where no forms can be cast until the sun rises. Do not hesitate. Do not question. Just hide. Because I know now. I understand what my guardian was trying to protect us from. It wasn't about the absence of light creating a shadow. It was about something far more sinister. The light doesn't hold them in place, it holds us. The darkness is where they are free. And when your own shadow turns against you, there is nowhere left to run. The phone rings, startling me. I almost jump out of my skin. It's Rebecca. Did you feel that? She asks, her voice trembling. Feel what? I whisper, my eyes darting around the darkened room. Like a chill, a sudden drop in temperature. I close my eyes. I can feel it now too, a coldness that seeps into my bones, a presence that fills the room. Rebecca, I say, my voice barely audible. Where are you? In my dorm room, she replies. I just checked. My shadow. She trails off, her breath catching in her throat. Rebecca, listen to me. I say, my voice urgent. Turn off all the lights. Cover the windows. Get into the closet. Now. But no buts. Do it now and don't come out until morning. I hear a click as she hangs up. I hope she listens. I hope it's not too late. I sit in the darkness, listening. The silence is broken only by the frantic beating of my heart. I can feel it moving now, just beyond the edge of my vision. A flicker of darkness in the deeper shadows. Then I see it. My silhouette. It's on the wall across from me, elongated and distorted by the faint light filtering in from under the door. It's moving, slowly at first, then faster, mimicking my movements but with a disturbing exaggeration. It stretches its arms out wide, its fingers becoming long and sharp. It tilts its head back, its neck elongating into a grotesque parody of my own. I hold my breath, trying to remain perfectly still. But it doesn't matter. It continues to move, independently of me, as if it has a will of its own. It reaches out a long, shadowy hand and touches the wall. Then it begins to trace something, a shape, a circle. And then within the circle it draws an eye, a large staring eye that seems to bore into me even in the darkness. I close my eyes, squeezing them shut, trying to block out the image. But it's no use. I can still see it, burned into the back of my eyelids. I can hear it now too. A soft, whispering sound, just barely audible. My name, repeated over and over, closer and closer. I know what's coming. I know there's no escape. The darkness has claimed me, and there we conclude our terrifying encounter with the unseen mimic, a story that delves into the chilling consequences of a forgotten knowledge and the horrifying reality that our own shadows can betray us. What would you do if the very image you project into the world turned against you? How could you escape something that is always with you, always watching? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If this tale has left you with a lingering sense of dread, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and activate the notification bell to join us on future journeys into the darkness. This is the Midnight Narrator, signing off. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we cannot see, the ones that lurk just beyond the edge of our perception, waiting in the shadows.